Well, welcome to Conscious Caring Resources, which is another platform to help you care for others and hopefully yourself, which is provided by Alzheimer Speaks. I am Lori LeBay, the founder of Alzheimer Speaks, and we have a lot of different platforms. We have a radio show, a blog. We do webinars called Dementia Chats, where our experts actually have dementia, resource directory, and I also do keynotes and consulting. And my belief is that we need to give voice to everybody who is dealing with this disease around the world and come together as a culture. So I'm really excited today. We have Vince Zangaro with us, and he has been on an amazing Alzheimer's journey that started about 10 years ago with his father. His dad was diagnosed when he was 62, but Vince was only about 29, and his world completely changed. And needless to say, it was a difficult time for both of them. And as his dad's disease progressed, Vince now shares so openly how this disease has helped him evolve as a man and to become a better person as a whole. Vince, like many, had a lot of friends that suggested that he put his dad, in a home, but he made a promise to his mom before she died at the age of 55 that he would care for him. And his decision to do that, I'm sure was not an easy one. And one of the things he talks about was he was confronted with a really difficult choice of, do I give up or do I grow up? And what does that mean? And thank God for all of us that he decided to grow up and really make a difference, not only for his dad, but for families around the world who are struggling on their own journey. He is now the founder of Alzheimer's Music Festival, which helps others be able to care for their loved ones at home. And I'm going to let Vince go ahead and share a little bit about his journey and stuff with us. So welcome, Vince. How are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Lori. I appreciate it.
Well, good. You want to talk a little bit more about your journey with your dad? I just kind of highlighted a few things there about, how it started about 10 years ago. But what's it been like for you at such a young age to be responsible for your dad with dementia?
Well, there, of course, are negative things about it, but once you get over yourself, I guess, because I was 29 and now I'm 41, just turned 41. And so it's been almost a 12-year journey for Dad and I. And, he went through very hard times when he was kind of coming in and out of reality to his new reality is what I like to call it. And so you go through the combative, you go through, the kind of people venturing out, not knowing what to do the next day. Every phase is something different. There's not a handbook for this. I haven't found one. There's a lot of books out there, but I don't think there's a handbook that can really tell you exactly what you're going to go through this journey. And, we were very isolated for 6 years there and, lost a lot of friends, and we had to go through what we had to go through to find our place in this. And this is what I always tell people now. I'm like, you just have to find your place in all this. And our place started when we formed Alzheimer's Music Fest. And I kind of wanted to do something very grassroots to help families right now and right here, because I knew how hard that we had it financially and how we didn't have the resources and insurance to cover many of the things, because they quote unquote call it a mental disability, not a physical disability. So I don't think people are very aware that there's not respite care programs out there really for people. There's not wheelchair even things like that. So, I wanted to create something that could help people. So I partnered with Caring Together and Hope, which is a great nonprofit for Alzheimer's dementia resources out in Atlanta. And then also they just opened Amy's Place, which I believe is the first freestanding memory care cafe in the Southeast. I think I'm right about that. And they've done amazing work this year. It's pretty amazing to go up there and see everything that they're doing for families. So we just kept on going. And once I started Alzheimer's Music Fest, slowly a community started. For some people, we got a lot of press just because I have tattoos and piercings and that looks young. And it was a man on man. So, when we started getting the press in, it was really awesome. It was really uncomfortable because, I had to go, Dad loves attention. But in my mind, I wanted to still keep Dad's dignity intact. And now I think just because he has Alzheimer's doesn't mean he doesn't have dignity. You know what I mean? It's just a different form in his life and a different part in his life right now. So, we slowly went through this journey and it started getting better. I stopped trying to force him living in my world and I started living in his world. And when that happened, there's some kind of innocence that came out in me again, where you're not really worried about all this hubbub you get. You lose that innocence when you grow as a child into an adult. You get a lot of crap shoved in your life and that you think that matters. What Dad gave me was teaching me that just moments matter. Not necessarily all this stuff, and it actually freed up my life a lot. I met my wife, started a festival, I do music, and all this is because of Dad. I'd probably be just working a normal job, having fun, trying to make money, and that's not what our life is anymore. It's very different now. It's really about serving others and bringing awareness, and sometimes that's the best gift you can do is helping others, and it's like you're cared for when you do that.
You talk about, with your dad living in the moment and things. And my mom, I was on the journey with her for 30 years. So I refer to it as she taught me how to play again. Because as an adult, you forget the innocence of just that true connection. And man, that's so precious. And once you find that, I mean, I know for me, I'll never let that go again. I'll never ever let that go again, because it's so important. And in your role, you're teaching others, how to play and how to connect and how to find that passion. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this journey is in terms of working with others, you meet so many neat people who have turned something that a lot of people would walk away from and have made a really cool life with it and have shared with others how to get through it and how to tap kind of their own passions. Like I came down to your Alzheimer's Music Fest. Gosh, I don't know if it was the first or second year.
I think it was the second year.
Yeah. And it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was just, and the work you put into, all the lineups and things that you had, and, the auction pieces. And I mean, it was just incredible, the amount of work and the amount of giving that the musicians, gave of themselves to get up and play and entertain, for a good cause. It was just, it was really a pretty beautiful thing. And I know it's grown since then, but why don't you talk a little bit about the Alzheimer's Music Fest and, why you started it and how does it work and how can people get involved in it?
Well, the Alzheimer's Music Fest came about when, I've been a musician since I was a kid, and I got back into playing out live, years ago. It was a good outlet because I wrote a lot about caregiving journey. And so since I was in the music scene, I called some of the large organizations. I don't like calling, everybody has their own purpose, but I did not see anybody really helping families right now. With respite care, breaks, wheelchair ramps. Anything that they need, help them clean the house, groceries, undies. You have no idea how many people need these things. And I got so frustrated by it, I just put on an Alzheimer's Music Fest. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what was going to go on. I just did it. I planned the first one in about 3 months. And it was a great success. The first one, it was insane how great of a success, and asked many local bands. And I think we had over 20-something bands in less than 10 hours. Played stages, and then just from that, that on, we just keep on working with different people like Hearing Together and Hope and Amy's Place, and people that are really kind of working towards what we're working for, community, building that community for families, giving them that support they need. If they need respite care, if they need a 2-day vacation, if they need anything at home, we're there. We can help them with that. And I think that's really neat. And now it's kind of weird because you said, I'm kind of on the social media, and that's a main focus of mine because I'm a caregiver. And as we all know, as caregivers, this is a 24/7 job. So I'm doing all this while caring for my dad. So I've had to really learn how to do things over the phone, use the social networks, things like that to really make it grow. And I've been even meeting caregivers from different countries. That pretty amazing all over the world when you start talking to caregivers. This one, Anita, that I met the other day from Kenya, Africa, was telling me how they find their loved ones with Alzheimer's and dementia. They feel they're possessed by the devil. It's economic force, and it's such a Stone Age way of thinking that now I'm really getting focused on trying to figure out some way to do international outreach too throughout the next couple years, because I think that's very important. It doesn't seem like they have the resources they need out there to get that education across.
Yeah. Yeah, they really don't. And that's one of the cool things about social media is the connections that are made, the information that is shared. And I think one of the biggest things that touched me on my journey was just hearing other people's stories and then being able to share my own, just having that outlet so that you don't think you're isolated and alone and that nobody understands. Because a lot of times you can talk with your own immediate family and a lot of them just don't get it. They're not around, or they don't care to be, they don't know, they don't want to deal with it, and they've chose to kind of give up versus the grow up, phase that you went through. And that can be really wearing on individuals when you don't feel like anybody gets your story or gets what you're going through. And I think that's such a powerful piece that you're allowing people to have. Vince, I'd like you to just expound on respite care, on what it is, because I think so many people don't understand it. I think it's a horrible word for a great service, but it doesn't connect the dots when people hear the word in terms of what is respite and how do they get it?
Well, this is very important. I went through a depression phase just about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not kidding. And you wouldn't think that because I'm always positive and all, but and I don't have depression. It just happened again. And so what I decided to do was get a healthcare provider to take care of Dad every other week, one day, every other week, to come in here from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, just so I can walk out the door. So I can go do stuff at Alzheimer's Music Fest. And most of the things I do is Alzheimer's Music Fest right now, with that coming up on the August 6th. But that's respite care. That's being able to provide care at home, maybe 1 or 2 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize how important that is. Because like you said, you don't normally, as a caregiver, you're one person. And even if you have a family, a large family, it's good if that family supports that caregiver, but one person, I truly feel, needs to be in charge of the care itself, or it becomes all over the place. So that's what respite care does. Basically, it kind of gives you money to have a break,
mm-hmm.
and to be able to walk out that door, because as caregivers, we know you can get very isolated. You can get almost to the point where you don't want to leave the house if you don't watch out. You just get so weirded out. And fortunately, my wife is so great, and we get Dad out as often as possible. But it just gives you a break, and you need to walk away. If you're doing this and you burn out, and I've done it before, where I won't leave Dad. I won't go on a big vacation. I mean, it won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just having that day of going out and feeling like a normal human being, and whatever that day you're going to do, that's what respite care really is important for. And I think people should really Google that word. It's like, take a break day, just take a break.
Yep.
Just take a break.
Well, and it's one of those things that, caregiver burnout, it sneaks up on you. You don't even know it happens until you're down the rabbit hole.
Well, like you said, you were 30 years into it. I'm, 12 years into Pops, and Pops is happy and doing great. And, there's been changes, but it does. You get on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
You just, you get on autopilot. You want everything to be very consistent in his life. So basically it gets to the point where you're doing the same things over and over for as long as you've been doing this, and just shake it up once in a blue moon, it can really dramatically affect your personality and your emotions in a positive way, I think.
Yeah. Well, and to get out and to be able to connect socially with others, one of the things that I learned on my journey, which I was hilarious, because I was like you, I was just always there and thought, no one else could care as good as I could. No one knew my mom as much as I did, and I wanted her life to be simple and calm and happy. And, I knew her triggers and all those things. And then one day it hit me, it's like, oh my gosh, nobody wants to be tied to anybody 24/7. I mean, they want a little space.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
And, and variety really is the spice of life. And so I found, even like when my brothers were visit, and I didn't know this till we had a conversation after my dad left or had passed, I should say. And we were talking about the care of my mom, and And they said, well, you're just kind of a control freak. And I'm like, what? I'm organized. That's what I viewed myself. I'm very organized. That's why everybody comes for me for help, because I'm organized. I get the job done, And they're like, well, no, you want us to do, when we visit, you want us to be you, and we're us. And that just was like, oh my gosh, I guess I did have that expectation. It's like, well, if you're going to do this, do it this way, because I know this works, instead of allowing them to be the individual they are and allowing them to have their own relationship. And I was totally oblivious to that. And I told them, I said, well, okay, I'll take responsibility for that. I can change. I said, but I don't want you using that as an excuse not to come around either. You could have told me that years ago.
No, and I understand where you're coming from, because I get control freak, believe me, very often. Everything has to be my way, but I have great family that from afar, their phone and stuff like that. But sometimes I think it's a little bit of a blessing that it's kind of me and Amy. Mm-hmm. We do that because you almost have to be in a weird way, and I hate to say that, but you really almost have to be. A little control-y freaky, or whatever. I don't think that's a proper word in English, but we'll just go ahead and use it. But I really think that's important, because you do. And it's very hard, like say if one of my family members wanted to come over here and say, hey, Vince, go out for the night and stuff. That, and it's not their fault. It's not that I don't trust them, but you can't just come in and do that.
Yeah.
You really have to. I have one healthcare provider that's been with me for 3 years now that I feel comfortable walking out of this house. And, it's not something someone can just go. I think people are sometimes, and I don't want to call it ignorant. In life, we never fully understand what people are going through unless we live it ourselves. That's just the way human beings are built. Mm-hmm. Okay. Some people are more compassionate than others. Unless it's touched you, you have no idea. And I think a lot of people, and I remember my friends back in the day, think Alzheimer's, it's just that old people disease where people forget. And it's not what it is. It's not at all what it is. And, and it's very irritating to us as caregivers when we go through so many things, and very irritating because my dad served this country. My dad did great things in his life. And I think that's very disrespectful of my dad. Mm-hmm. That's where I think people try to take his dignity, which they can never do, because my dad's dignity is my dad's dignity. Our family has our own dignity. That's the only way we can live. We can't let other people put us anywhere else in this world, whether they like what we do or not. I really, at this point, we just have to do what we feel comfortable as a family. And hopefully that touches other people, and people will learn through that process. Because I think that's generally, unless you live through it, I think that's what people think Alzheimer's is. And I hate to say it, but unless you've been touched by it. And even more so, been a caregiver yourself, I think that is the perception out there. And I think that needs to change very quickly. Mm-hmm. Or we're going to be in serious trouble in this country. We're going to get in really serious trouble.
Yeah. Well, and part of that, control freak, or that, it's about consistency and routines, is when they're out of that, family can leave, but then you're left mm-hmm. with all the emotions and the frustrations and the out of wackiness that can happen. And nobody sees that part. And they're like, well, they were fine when I left, but it's like, it's a very interesting disease. And we do need to educate people much more on the importance of how we care and why we do what we do. And I think so many people don't understand the whys behind. They just think, well, you're just controlling things. No, I'm doing that because this gives this person a calmness. This is their comfort zone. This really isn't about me all the time.
It's about them. It really is. That's what your whole world becomes.
Yeah. And sometimes it might be about us as care partners. I mean, reality wise, we just might need something done a certain way at a certain time, just because we're on that edge.
And I'm OCD a little bit, so that doesn't. Sometimes that's a great thing. My wife says that there's amazing things about my OCD, but also very annoying things that I break the habit.
Yeah. So I know you have some thoughts on, and we touched on this a little bit, but what really upsets you about the perceptions about Alzheimer's and dementia? What do you see are the issues? And
one, I hate when people say old people disease. I think that's really uncouth and uncool. I think we need to respect our elders in this country more than we do. I think that's lacking as we've grown. You know, when I grew up, you respected your elders. That's what it was. Now, I'm not saying every elder, there's bad people out there, but, you know, in general, the good people and your elders you should respect. And also, people are getting Alzheimer's younger and younger every day. And this is where you start forgetting things, but it's literally where you stop walking, feeding yourself. You know, you're not able to know how to walk anymore. I mean, how to pick up a spoon and just taste something, how to even translate. You lose your verb or your capability to verbalize anything. My dad has his own kind of language, and sometimes there's a word I understand in that, but I feel like I understand him with that. And just the emotional stress that they must be going under and what dad must be going under, all we can do as caregivers is really support that. But what we do is take their emotional stress and put that on ourselves. So also that this is very much a family disease. I mean, really, and why I call it family disease, because this is, you know, Lewy body's dementia is a scary version, and I know that's very fast acting. Dementia, but when you're dealing with Alzheimer's and things like this is a journey. This might be like, you know, 12 years. And I can't wait. I hope me and Pops have many years. I don't want it to end. This is all I know anymore. You know, I don't know anything different. He's become my son. And that's another thing, you know, when you care for someone, they're still your loved one, your father or mother, you know, or sister or brother, and they're also your son. They're also your best friend. Believe it or not, they know you more than anybody does in this world, even when they start forgetting, because you guys just have this connection that you almost feel what each other are feeling. I know Dad and I are very much like that. And I don't think there's any supernatural thing to it. I think when you're around someone, just like a wife or anybody else or a sibling for so long, you just kind of know what each other need, even without verbalizing it. Yeah. So there's not many bonds like that you're going to find in this world. But that's almost like a mother and a child's connection, which you forming with your loved ones. So I think, you know, the ignorance, and also, you know, we're fortunate out here because, you know, we've been so involved in the community and people are very kind to Pops and our family, and we feel very fortunate because the first 6 years were not like that. You know, you'd go out to eat and people would stare at you weird, and you're like, my dad has Alzheimer's, you know. I don't like saying that. When I go to a restaurant, I don't want to say that. Just be compassionate, look if you need to look, and then just go on. Don't go, what the heck's going on over there? You know what I mean? That's so weird. Why do they have their loved one out like that, you know? Screw off. Because, you know, my dad likes going to restaurants. I like going to restaurants. And it's great mental stimuli for him, you know, to get out and do different things. And we still kind of keep it consistent. We have our places we like to go. But, you know, that's very important to get out. So just a lot of weird stuff out there, you know, that I think that people just perceive. They don't look into it. They don't research it. They don't get involved in the community. And I can't blame them for that. To be honest with you, if, you know, my dad didn't get Alzheimer's, I don't know if I would care, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't say that. I would hope that I would. Be compassionate. I know being a caregiver now, if my friend has cancer or someone's going through something, I'm very emotional about it. I research what they're going through, you know, whether if they have MS or I have a friend that got Crohn's disease, or I really go research because I know how bad it feels for people not to do that for you. So now, like, you can talk to me the next day and I'll be like, dude, I read a lot about this. So, you know, you really get very emotionally involved because I've been there for so long that I want them to feel like they're not alone with what they're going through. So I think if everybody just took that little step, you know, and say whatever you're going through, you know, whether that's cancer, Crohn's disease, lupus, MS, you know, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, if you would just look at your friends, and even at a younger age, and not be scared of it, just look at it, read, go, they have that in their feet. Let me read a little bit. Let me just take that 10 minutes to read. Yeah. That's the world to people. And I think people should do that more.
Yeah, to educate themselves instead of just judge. Or run away scared, you know, because we all need help. We all need support. You know, one of the things you were talking about was the connection with your dad, and you know, how really intimate it is, and how few relationships you have where you can just read one another, and it's almost like you know, they could finish your sentence if they could talk, but they know exactly what's coming next. And And one of the things I found with my mom, and my guess is you probably have with your dad, was you really get back to paying attention to nonverbal signs.
Mm-hmm.
You need all the help you can to figure out what is it that they need. And I think as a society, we just brush over that stuff,
Well, especially in the virtual age that we're in now too. Everything's
Yep.
Yep. Texting and whatever. So.
Yeah, and it's but it's just so critical to really know the whole story, because words don't do it. And like you said, with texting or emails, there can be so many miscommunications because what's the feeling behind that? What was the emphasis in this sentence structure? I could take this 12 different ways. I'm not sure which one you meant. But yet we don't ask those questions in society either to clarify. We just like, oh, nope, this is what they meant. And then a lot of times we get mad and we run off, and friendships are broken, and, or there's a tiff. And with dementia, when you're in it, you have to slow down, you have to look, and you're constantly, I think, trying to put a puzzle together. It's like a challenge on a mental level, really, in terms of figuring out what's really going on when somebody can't always communicate their needs as clearly. And then there's those moments when they're so clear and clarity. And I'm sure you've run across that too, where there's nothing, and then all of a sudden there's just these moments of just super clarity, and you just go, wow, they're like back.
No, very, very much. And it's fun that you said body language, because my wife always says that I can tell like in 5 minutes about a person, just even without talking. So she's like, "How did you get that?" And normally I'm right, and maybe that's because I can read body language, or as a dad, because I'm perceptive, and I didn't even realize I gave it. So you just said that, except my wife saying it and other people I know, and that makes a lot of sense. That's something I really never thought about before, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, they say most of, 3/4 of our communication is nonverbal,
right.
And within, seconds, we're summing up if we like somebody or not, and making a judgment. And they might not have said a word. They might have just walked into the room and been on the other side. So I think that there's a lot more going on with our brain in our mind than what we realize or give credit to. And when you are forced to really pay attention, like we have to with dementia, if you're really going to give good care, you start tapping into those, I think, basic skills that we all have that we've forgotten about. And they have such a huge impact in terms of how we relate. I think it's where our source of compassion and empathy can come from, because we're connected at a deeper level than most of us want to give credit to. And it's quite the process. What's been the most difficult thing for you on your journey with your dad over the past 12 years?
I guess I would say losing relationships.
Mm.
That's still one that I can't get over, lifetime friendships. And it's not all their fault. There's things I did on my journey that wasn't correct, like lying. Mm-hmm. And so, because, I'm 29 to 34 years old, and I don't really want to talk about some of the stuff at that point that Dad and I are going through. And a lot of younger men would not understand that also. Mm-hmm. Or women, they wouldn't get it. They just wouldn't. So you don't want to all become that. So you almost make up things so your friends aren't concerned, and you're kind of going through that, what I call kind of that high school mentality. Mm-hmm. Still trying to be that cool, got it together person, to going to this grown up that has to find their place in this, and to become themselves again, all over again. And this really will force you to become yourself. There's no doubt about that. You will become that person that, for bad or for good. Unfortunately, mine was a good journey, but I think that's really one of the hardest things. Caring for Dad's never hard for me. It's, my family's like that. I was fortunate enough to have a good, great family, for me anyway. So to care for them was never a second thing. I'm Italian, so you saw this in my family. My dad had Alzheimer's. My dad's father had Alzheimer's, and his brother's going through dementia right now. And so, batter up probably for me down the road. That's a pretty strong male line right there. So, you know, that's kind of a scary thing. But at the end of the day, I always joke. I was like, that's why I married my wife 7 years younger than me. And people say you're so selfless with stuff, then you always get that stuff on social media, right? I'm like, you're not putting me in a home anymore. I don't care. I want to be a burden on you. But there's no way in hell I'm going to a home. So you better figure out some kind of retirement plan to get your help. Take me up to the bar, get me beers until I can't have beers anymore. You know, it's just, I love you, but I'm not doing that. So sorry. So call me selfless all you want. And then you can call me selfish when I get to be going through that journey, because you're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming, separate me from my kids.
Yeah. What has been one of the biggest blessings of this journey for you?
Clarity. That's an easy one. That is always easy. Unconditional love. I never thought, you know, I had that with my mom, and I lost her way too young. And that really killed me. But clarity, seeing things that are so, you're not really living, you start not living in the past, you live in the moments that are surrounded, and you really look at them. It's not like, you know, where you're just doing stuff to do stuff and you don't think about it. You see clarity, you're in the moment all the time. That smiles, that moment. Sometimes in my brain lasts like 5 minutes and it's only been 2 seconds. Do you get what I'm saying? It's just a different way of perception. I think that's a gift that he's given me. And again, I will never be changed. I'll always have it. I don't think I'll ever go back to taking things for granted again. And it helps me with my wife's relationships. It helps me caring for dad and learning that patience and clarity also, because you have to have a lot of patience too. Helps you in life and communication. People kind of feel like how easygoing you've become. And I'm a complete different person than I was 6 years ago. You know, and I think this is the person I'll evolve. Hopefully, I hope we all keep evolving. But, you know, I think that's really helped me with a lot of things. It's just, and also listening. I'm a great listener now. It used to just be about me. Now I'll just sit and listen and really capture what people need me for in life. You know, I think that's, you know, even my good friend Jason Connery, the other day, he was like, Vince, you should just talk now. It's like, I have to go. Are you there? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm listening. And he's like, you've really changed over the last years. It used to just be like, blah, 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 blah. When you actually listen. So probably becoming a little bit less self-absorbed and self-centered. It's probably
My friends call me the calm one now, you know, which I just kind of laugh. They're like, you're always calm, you know, no matter what's going on. And I'm like, well, I have my moments, you know, but I think I've come to learn, you know, the disease has taught me I can't control it. I can try to work with it. And I can only do the best I can in the moment I have. And
that's why I think it's so funny, sorry, when people call you a control freak with this. Because there's so much you can't control. All you can do is try to keep a stable surrounding.
But to me, I think that's one of the biggest gifts was releasing that. And, you know, when you mentioned about losing friends earlier too, that really hit me, because I know I went through that, and I go through shifts like that. Now I'm realizing that that's just a normal shift in life, you know, kind of as you change and ascend into the next phase of your life, that there's this letting go, and it's a scary thing to go through. But what I've found on my journey, and maybe you have too, is better things, I don't want to say better people, but different people who align better with you, with who you've become now, come into your life.
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, I have this whole new circle of people that are just amazing that I've, you know, through the music and Alzheimer's community. And I'm never saying these friends are bad people. Again, they don't understand. You don't understand what you're going through. You lose relationships. It's hard for them to understand. And it's even going, sorry, I lied to you a bunch, you know, back in those days, or I was acting like a jerk, or I was going through stuff. You know, I say it very openly now, but back then I didn't know how to communicate that. So it's not their fault. It's not my fault. As you said, once you start living this life, you start meeting new people and surrounding yourself by not better people, just people that are more aligned with you. Exactly what you just said.
Yeah. And I think if that's something, you know, we can teach people, I mean, to me, I think that's something we should be teaching in school. you know, about letting go and about not judging and about listening and, you know, about paying attention to nonverbals. I mean, all the lessons, and I've written so many of them down over times in my blog, you know, that my mom has taught me. They're all applicable to all of life. I mean, they're just really rich life lessons.
No, it's very true. And, you know, and it's sad to say, you know, I don't know how far empathy will go with this new social media, instant self-gratification world. I love all this stuff. But I'm to an age where I use it for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I can't stand Twitter, but, you know, I'm not a big fan of that. That's not a great system. I just like to write more than 120 characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Facebook's a little bit more story, where Twitter is more like, oh, boom.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But you can use it for good, but I'm already seeing people getting desensitized. And as we grow, and that's a big concern for me, is not having that emotional feeling and connection with people. And I'm already seeing it. Young people are getting, some are great, I'm just saying it. And I hate to sound like my parents, because I'm sure they were bitching just as much about me when I was growing up as a kid. Like, these kids don't know. Gosh, you know, if my mom could see it now, how it's crazy. You know, it's just it's almost robotic. It's a little weird. And that's going to put a lot more pressure on parents to make sure that their kids are interactive and they can emotionally connect with others and things like that. And hopefully we won't have a huge issue, but I foresee it. I foresee people getting desensitized.
Well, I think that's almost showing in even the elections and stuff, you know, with different things, or just in society. I mean, you've got we have so many different aspects going on right now, where you know, people might rally up and it looks like they're very sensitive, but in some ways they're almost desensitized to the big picture, and are focused. They're not seeing everything clearly, you know, and their information is limited. And I think that's one of the coolest things about dementia is your information, your source is limited. And so to really find out, I mean, if you really care, you really have to dig deep and wide to figure out what's going on within that source, within that person's soul, you know, and go out of the box and take time to just be there, you know, and slow down. I remember with Mom, you know, a point where I had my back in the day, you had a pager and you had a phone and you had this and that, you know, you had like 12 different things on you. And I remember the first day I like turned it all off. That was scary for me. I mean, because that was like who I was. I was always connected and stuff. And now I look at things and you know, she's gone now 2 years, but it's amazing. Even like if my computer crashes or my internet goes goofy, I would have gone crazy before. And now I just have this calmness and almost, thank God, I'm disconnected
Right.
from all that nutsness, to just be able to kind of be still and be me. And the disease taught me that was okay.
I know, and I think it is, you know, my wife and I, and, you know, we have this kind of strict rule when she you know, we'll go outside or whatever, and I still smoke cigarettes. Don't yell at me. I got to figure out. That's the last one I got to figure out. But anyway, we'll go outside and she'll keep me company and I keep my phone inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we'll sit out there sometimes for 30 minutes and we'll catch up on the day and we'll let the puppy run around. And I think that's very important, you know, and then, you know, I'm on my phone a lot. I'm not going to say I'm not, just with Alzheimer's Music Fest, emails, you know, there's so many aspects, but you know, when it's just her and I really try to put it down. I'm like, I'm not. No.
Yep.
Not today. Like even sometimes in the bed, I won't bring it back to the bedroom, you know, and I think that's a good thing, because I think, you know, you need to really, because you got to appreciate the moments, what I just told you. You know, if you're on your cell phone 24/7 on the computer, you're not enjoying the moments. You're just enjoying this virtual world, what can be awesome and great and knowledgeable and helpful for people, but you need to take time away for yourself and your family.
Well, and I think one of the things too is, people get really stressed at work and with families going, I have to be on 24/7. But when you're accessible, you allow that.
Right.
So I think the disease helps teach people boundaries, and that it's okay to say no. Because no is not a real acceptable word, when someone's asking, but you have to learn to say no along with yes, or look at, I don't know, for me, it's taught me to look deeper as to why I do what I do. And I'm getting stronger in saying, that's just not a good fit for me, or I don't really want to do that.
No, and I think you're exactly right. I think that was a big lesson for me over the last 2 years, even with shows. I've got, I get offered very kind things now since I've been a musician for a while. And, and I got to say no. And I'm like, oh man, that's just, I probably turned down, 6 shows over the last 3 months, but I'm like, I got to work completely in Alzheimer's Music Fest. And I've been working on it the whole year, but I was like, I really got to focus there. If I do a show, it'll be too stressful for me. I can't do it. So saying no is a big deal. And my dad also, has taught me that too, because, again, when people want me to speak, maybe out of town or do something like that, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go further than 2 hours from my dad. It's not going to happen. That's just how I feel. I get so stressed out, like I just don't want to be that far from him. So that is automatic. No, I can't do that. So I think, saying no is okay.
Yeah.
Also, when you get now, being in your 40s gets a lot different, where you want to play cards with your wife and play rummy, and you don't want to party all the time. And, like I'd rather go to the pub now once a week at 3 in the afternoon, be back by 5, play rummy, have dinner with the family, and call it a night at 9. That's just very different than it was 4 years ago.
Yep. So I want to ask, how is your dad, with your wife? How do they do with one another?
Oh, he loves her, man. His eyes brighten up every time she comes into her room. She, my wife's a pre-K teacher and has been a teacher for many years, and so she's just so patient. And Amy is such a godsend to us. You know what I mean? She's a pre-K teacher during the day, taking care of 16 kids, and then comes home. And normally I don't have her help me during the week that much or anything. She one day out of a week at night because she gets so stressed. So we've got our system together where she'll give me breaks and everything. And I try not to, even if Alzheimer's Music Fest, I try to keep her separated from that because she has so much of her own stuff going on. So her goals is really, okay, go take care of your kids during the day and then help me out a couple times a week. And we have that system down so I can focus on Alzheimer's Music Fest and what I have to do there. But they get along great. They love each other. I mean, like I said, he just brightens up and Amy loves him and they're just so cute to see.
Oh, that's cool. And that, because that can be really put a stress on some relationships.
Well, Amy came in this with this. So, we've been together, 6 years now, but married. I think we're going on our 3rd year here in September. So, it's just, she knew what she was getting into, kind of. Doesn't make it any easier because we've gone through different phases of getting less mobile and things like that. But Amy's is like, this is the way I like to call it. Amy is kind of like the defensive line. If I'm burned out and I can't do it, Amy is there to support me, support that. But I'm kind of the quarterback. So I keep going until I can't anymore, until I go, Amy, I need help. And this is another thing why it's great to have respite here every other Friday. Because that gives a break to all of us. So I wake up Saturday, sleep in, honey, sleep in to 10. I got this. I had all day off yesterday. So that really translates into a better mood and happiness for everybody. And Dad gets to hang out with someone new, like you said. And he loves us. So that's really, he's always just smiley when she comes over. So she's really great. And so when you find a great CNA or a nurse that's helping you out, keep them. I don't care. Steal them from the company they're working for. I don't care. Pay them under the table. I don't care because it's cheaper and they make more money. And I hope companies don't get mad at me for saying that. You can't afford $20 an hour. We couldn't afford $20 an hour every other Friday. It's very expensive. When you find that right person, do what you have to do to keep them around to support you and be fair to them too. Because CNAs don't get paid amazing money by any means, especially for the work they do.
Let's talk about the Alzheimer's Music Fest, and when it is, where it is, how people can get involved and buy tickets or donate or.
Yeah, it's going to be, this year's pretty cool. We've always appreciated all the local bands that have been with us and have played our stages and the festival and helped us with this. But this year, we kind of moved to a different venue. We did it last year. We moved to Red Clay Theater, Red Clay Music Foundry. Very family friendly. Beer and wine, not liquor, and, all that stuff. So it's very family friendly. You can bring the whole family. Also, we have national bands on this year, touring bands and, larger acts this year that have come on, which is pretty amazing. I mean, I'm getting to work with some of my musical, heroes. So that's pretty cool to get to know those people and to get to see how they're affected by Alzheimer's and this disease also. And then it'll go August 6th from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. And it's right outside of Atlanta in downtown.
Okay.
And you can go to alzheimersmusicfest.org or the Alzheimer's Music Fest Facebook page. And, it's everywhere. You can Google Alzheimer's Music Fest and you'll be able to get all the information you need.
So are you going to do a silent auction at all this year?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're doing raffle items and stuff this year again. Yeah, we have some great people that are donating. Some famous people that are kind enough to donate, stuff, people like that. And then also, gift certificates and guitars and all that fun stuff again. So yeah, we should have a pretty good, we always try to do decent on the auction table. It's not something I try to stress my brain out so much about I used to, but we normally have a pretty decent auction item.
Okay. Now, if anyone is listening and wanted to donate something, they could contact you through the website. Yeah. And then what do tickets run?
$20 for advance and $25 at the door. And then you can also go, we have one more week on our GoFundMe. And we did a banner to honor families, and it's pretty beautiful. I'm not sure if you've seen that yet, but it keeps growing, and it's going to be this huge banner that we hang down to honor Alzheimer's dementia families. And you can contribute $10 to $100. We wanted to really keep it to a lower price so caregivers can do it. $10 means the world, and to help the families, so they can also go over there. And we only have $275 left to reach our goal, so we're pretty excited about it.
Cool.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll reach it by next Thursday. We should, I hope.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it's so awesome what you're doing. Have you ever considered kind of joining forces with your Alzheimer's Music Alzheimer's Music Fest with the Dementia Rocks? What's weird is they do mostly out of countries, but I have contacted Norm. And and I haven't heard back from him yet. I think it's very different. I think they're on they had their second one. And that was in England and a couple of different countries, correct? Yep. Okay. And I put it out there to him because I think it would kind of be dumb for them to do that here when I'm already doing it. So I'd love to work with them since I have, because you can't, to run a festival, you have to have so many different skill sets to do that. Yeah. And fortunately enough, we have a great team here, like Angela Downs and Liz Lee, media, Pam Van Jean Van and also Paul Garrett and Leanne Hutchison. And I mean, it's just formed, a big team over the years. And also Terry Reeves Martin. And so, we already have this team, and we're going on, this is our 5th one this year. So I hope that we could do something together. I'm always open for that. I think collaboration is great. Yeah, I didn't know if you could, they have a certain day that they do it, and it's getting bigger. And it was in several countries this last time, and I think it'll be getting bigger probably next year. That's why I was just thinking if there was a way to do it the same date, it might raise elevation of what you're doing and might allow you even to do even bigger than what you're doing right now. In the U.S. I don't know. It's just one of those thoughts. No, yep. I already reached out, so hopefully someone will contact and just see what they're doing. Maybe we can help each other and learn from what we've done. Yeah. Well, cool. So again, the best way for people to contact you is to go to the website alzheimersmusicfest.org, or you're on Facebook too.
Yeah.
They can,
Or Instagram, all that fun stuff. Just go to the website. It has everything there for you.
okay. Okay. Well, sounds good. Anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm pretty good. You know, I never preach to people about being a caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, the best thing I can say is just try to get out there and, you know, it's hard to socialize, but don't keep yourself so reclusive. Try to create a community around you. I know it feels very lonely, but once you start forming that community, it gets a hell of a lot less lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Vince, and I want to thank our audience for taking the time to watch Conscious Caring Resources. And please reach out to Vince. And again, you can reach him at the AlzheimerMusicFest.org. We hope you found the information helpful, and we hope also that you'll pass it on to your influential circles. You know, if that's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever. You know, the Alzheimer's Music Festival would love to tap into your resources as well, and your social media. Maybe you can help fund, or maybe you'll just buy a ticket at the door and go for a great day of fun. I know when I was there, you know, a few years back, it was really very enjoyable, and I can't imagine what it's like today. You know, for this year coming up, I would love to go, but I've got a commitment that day. I was looking at my schedule, seeing if there was a way I could make it back down this year, but it's just not going to work for me. So anyways, thank you all again. I appreciate you taking the time to watch us here at Conscious Caring Resources, and know that you can always go to our mothership, as I call it, alzheimerspeaks.com, for more information as well. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.